Why have the number of earthquakes increased over time? Every now and then, news spreads about major earthquakes. Just a few weeks ago, a 7.0 magnitude earthquake struck off the coast of California, while the Republic of Vanuatu, an island nation in the South Pacific, suffered a 7.3 magnitude earthquake just a week ago. Every now and then, a country here or there announces a new earthquake. This gives the impression that major earthquake activity worldwide is increasing, especially since people have begun to hear about an earthquake hitting their country every few weeks, if not days sometimes. Has the world really become such a dangerous place that earthquakes are occurring at higher rates? This attracts the attention of promoters of scientific myths and conspiracy theories as they talk about something big coming, perhaps the end of the world and the approach of the planet Nibiru, and that there is a secret satanic world government that knows that the world is about to end but does not reveal the secret. What are earthquakes? But that is not the case at all. To understand the idea, let us start with what an earthquake means. If we imagine that the Earth is an apple, the Earth's crust is simply the thin skin of an apple, but this crust on Earth is 30 to 70 kilometers thick on the continents and 4 to 12 kilometers thick on the oceans. It differs in another way from the apple's crust, which is that it is not a single piece covering the Earth, but rather consists of a number of pieces called tectonic plates, which overlap each other in a way that resembles a paper puzzle. These plates move slowly, or rather, they swim a distance of several centimeters every year on another layer of the Earth located below them, called the mantle. These tectonic plates move away from each other in places and come closer in others. When the sides of two tectonic plates come closer to each other in one place, they rub together to create what scientists call a fault. In the normal case, the edges of the plates slide slowly and smoothly, but sometimes this is not the case as the plates overlap violently, causing earthquakes. This happens all the time. In fact, you might not believe it when you know that there are about 500,000 earthquakes that hit the Earth every year, about 100,000 of which can be felt in one way or another, and only 100 can be harmful, as happened in the case of the recent earthquake in Turkey. Earthquake statistics over the past 20 years around the world show that on average, the annual earthquake rate has neither increased nor decreased, but has remained as stable as possible. And this is certainly a good thing for humanity. Why have their numbers increased? At this point, you might ask, why then do I hear about earthquakes in my country more than ever before? And in fact, I feel more earthquakes in my own home. In fact, there are a number of reasonable answers to these questions, none of which involve anything related to the end of the world. One of those answers is related to seismic stations. Their number has increased, and the accuracy of scientists' instruments in measuring earthquakes has increased, which means that a greater number of earthquakes are being detected. Because those stations usually publish media data, you will consequently hear about a greater number of earthquakes compared to, say, 2 decades ago. Here you would imagine that the number of earthquakes has increased, but it is only the accuracy of our devices. In addition, the world has literally become a small, connected village, so you can hear about earthquake news coming from almost everywhere. The seismic stations in your country have pages on social media through which they announce every earthquake they have detected and mention its exact epicenter and strength. People at home usually feel moderate earthquakes, but ignore this feeling. But with the spread of earthquake advertisements everywhere, everyone has become more experienced because they learned that the tremor they felt a few hours ago was an earthquake and not just dizziness or a feeling from their imagination. Thus, we feel moderate earthquakes better than before, and because we share news through tweets or short posts quickly, we confirm to each other what we felt. From here, a wave of earthquake news begins to spread among millions to billions of individuals. Add to that another important point related to the annual number of earthquakes. For example, in 2020, the world witnessed about 1,400 earthquakes with a scale greater than 5 degrees. But in 2021, it witnessed 2,200 earthquakes of the same scale. This means that you feel a greater number of earthquakes, but it does not mean that the number of earthquakes has increased, because earthquake rates are not calculated by the year or two. Rather, scientists measure it over a long period of time, decades, for example. Here, specifically, it will become clear that although some years may be active with larger earthquakes, the average around the world is pretty consistent. This kind of misconception about the increase in earthquakes from one era to another is important to scientists as well. For example, it is known that large earthquakes with a magnitude greater than 8.0 have struck the Earth at a high rate since 2004. But scientists from an international team in a study published in the journal PNAS analyzed the historical record of earthquakes and found that this increase in heavy seismic activity was likely due to chance. But why do they say it is a coincidence? The team examined the global frequency of large earthquakes from 1900 to 2011. And found that while the frequency of earthquakes with a magnitude of 8.0 has been high since 2004, at a rate of about 1.2 to 1.4 earthquakes per year, this increased rate was not statistically different from what is normal on this larger timescale.